2009 on TSN is brought to you by the new Q Horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.
You know, we like to call motoring the show about cars and the people who drive them. They could be driving sport utilities, minivans, whatever. But you know, there's an element of our population that could not care less about a new vehicle, the latest in technology, and they avoid any kind of road that has asphalt on it. You may work with some of these people, but you don't know their dark side. Now, you're probably guessing I'm talking about off-roaders. Well, not really. This week, we're going to meet a group of men and women that are on a completely different planet, and they call themselves mudboggers.
This is extreme off-road, very extreme. It's like a redneck car show, I guess if you might say. The vehicles here, some guys have built them themselves, some are brand new vehicles, and some vehicles are modified just for this event. We got the crew from Motoring 09 here, and the first thing we're going to do is make sure our day is as fun as possible. The guys that build these machines, I mean, they waterproof them. There's lots of mud, lots of water. We had Hurricane Ike go through here, and I mean, he provided lots of water for us, so we didn't have to do much water for the pits. But the amount of time that these guys do in prepping trucks, like, I mean, a lot of guys take a week in getting a truck set up just for this event. All drivers and passengers must be wearing a seatbelt. All drivers are to maintain a safe speed with their vehicle.
My family just loves getting dirty. We started this whole thing basically. We saw your show on 2004 where they showed the Gopher Dunes. My cousin brought out my son and his son, and shortly after that we bought a truck, and we've been here ever since. You just basically dive into the pits, go full throttle, all out, and see if you can get to the end. If you can, slow down, go to the next pit, stay in line, and go do it again.
We want you to use the chains that are on the tractors. I mean, I looked at some of the tow straps you guys got on your trucks. I mean, my dog has a bigger chain than some of the ones you guys are using, so use our chains. Tires are a big factor. A lot of the guys prefer the big, wide, fat tires. A lot of guys the tall, skinny tires, all deep mud tires. Vehicles range from anything from your little Suzuki Samurais to your big 3/4 ton diesels. So we've got a combination of everything, and everything works a little different. So this is like a rolling car show today, and I guess it's fun. It's fun for people to watch.
Tell me about this place. What's it all about?
Been coming here about 5 years. It's about having some fun, hanging out with buddies, and get muddy and dirty. Gives us a place to go, right? Like, there's no place to go really to, you know, you can't go in farmers' fields and ruin their crops and stuff. This gives us a place to come out and, like I said, just tie one on for the day and get her going.
This is a Chevy Tracker with Bobcat tires that we've cut out the wheel wells so they fit. They're 33 inches, and cut out the bolt pattern so the tracker rims bolt onto the axle.
What's the worst thing go wrong when you're going through? What's your strategy?
I just put the pedal to the floor and go. The steering wheel's pulling a lot, no power steering, so it's kind of hard to hold on to, but it's okay.
What do you got to say about to all the women waiting out there watching right now?
Get on it, get it done, it's fun. Don't let the guys show you what to do.
All right.
It's pretty much all handmade. It's a 84 Dodge pickup, 4x4. There's about 4 feet cut off the back, so the rear end is moved ahead. It's a body off of a Jeep, and then the rad is out of a Chrysler Cordoba. The rad fans are off of an Intrepid. It's all scrapyard bits.
I thought a rad was supposed to be on the front.
Well, it's better on the back, that way it can't get filled with mud.
Guys that love trucks, guys that love mud, and you know what? With areas closing down more and more, it's there's very few places you can do this anymore. So you know what? Like I said, Gopher Dunes is a facility that's, you know, caters to the off-road enthusiasts. So this is just one of the things that we want to provide for them.
The question is, are you having any fun?
Yes, we are. We're having a blast.
What is it about this?
It's a blast.
Does it get any better than this? I mean, this
Oh,
is
no, no way. It's a blast, man. Everybody's got to try it.
What are you driving?
It's a Toyota, 1990 Toyota 4Runner.
You've got a few things to it?
Just cut her apart.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, that's the famous time to say, gentlemen, start your engines. Let's get over in MUDBOG.
No blackberries around here.
No blackberries, and if they are, they're put away. Today, if you're a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, today you're a redneck.
Unbelievable. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
The first generation of Subaru's STi brought rally-bred technology to the road. This week on Test Drive, the second generation of Subaru's 6-letter supercar. Years of punishment on the FIA World Rally Championship circuit have paid off handsomely for the STi. As the only apt description of this car, it's technologically advanced. And for once, all of the technology is there for a specific reason. A couple of hours spent playing with the car, and it's entirely possible to set it up to the driver's individual tastes. Once that's done, the STi can be driven to the absolute limit with a rare confidence. First and foremost, this STi really is a driver's car. To begin with, these seats are superb. They really do hug you in all the right places without being confining. Add that to a height-adjustable driver's seat and tilt and telescopic steering wheel adjustment, and you can find the right and correct driving position very easily. But you also get more than you bargain for. For instance, a very good sounding radio and a nav system that's a piece of cake to program. It really has been executed very well indeed. The STi's McPherson strut front and double wishbone rear suspensions do a wonderful job of keeping the STi's body flatter than gravy on a plate. The oversized P245 40R18 tyres then provide the needed grip. This combination is good enough the STi roasted the pylon test. The better news are the different settings available for the stability and traction control systems, as well as the uber-powerful Brembo brake system and its anti-lock function. Normal is the usual setting. The traction mode cancels the engine shut-off side and delays the intervention of the electronic nannies. The last mode turns the lot off. Be warned, it is not for the faint of heart. This functional hood scoop and all the air that blows through there and down through that intercooler, along with the rest of the technology that's packed under the hood, brings one seriously fast car. Now this thing will get you from rest to 100 kilometers an hour in about 5.1 seconds, but that only tells half the story. The real story is when you've got to get around that loafing tractor trailer. It'll get you from 80 to 120 in just 4 seconds. Now that's what you call a serious turn of speed. The STi's 2.5-litre turbocharged boxer engine fires 305 horsepower and 290 pounds-feet of torque through a 6-speed manual gearbox. It is, as the numbers suggest, a sublime combination. The SI Drive engine management system then allows the driver to tailor the engine's characteristics. Intelligent mode cuts the power output, which is handy in low traction conditions. It also boosts fuel economy by as much as 10%. The Sport mode is the best setting for everyday use, as it brings the best balance between the need for speed and the ability to feather the throttle. When the skid pad beckons, the Sport Sharp mode delivers instant throttle response and, of course, maximum fun. The back end of the STi has been very well thought through. To begin with, a much needed wash wiper. When you open up the back end here, you'll find a privacy cover and plenty of storage space with the seats up. If you fold them flat, well, the cargo capacity goes up to beyond 1,200 litres, which is very good. The bottom line, you do not give up anything in terms of practicality or versatility if you want to drive a world-class supercar. Subaru's all-wheel drive system is legendary, as it does everything a good system should do, and then some. Part of the reason is that the entire system lies on the center line of the car, and so everything is balanced. The multi-mode driver-controlled center differential then ramps up the ability appreciably. The auto mode is for all-round driving, as it varies the torque distribution anywhere between 41-59 front to rear, which makes it feel like a rear drive car, to an even 50-50 split. The driver can then customize the split according to preference. Finally, a manual mode allows the driver to pick one of 6 predetermined settings. It all works to perfection. This STi is a superb piece of machinery. To begin with, it handles like the dickens, it's got power to spare and some of the best brakes in the world. You also get to keep the versatility and practicality of the hatchback design. There is one thing to watch, however, and that is you must drive this car before you buy it. The reason? The tyres and the suspension work exceptionally well when you push this car to the limit. However, on a daily commute, some will find the tyres too loud and the suspension too firm. So you've got to make sure you drive it. The good news, however, if you can't handle this, the WRX is always waiting for you.
Time to update our long-term Saturn Astra, which was also our overall car of the year for 2008, and we've had no reason to regret our decision. With gas prices high, consumers are looking for a small, fuel-efficient car that doesn't look or feel cheap, and that is the Astra. Now, we've got the 5-door model with the double overhead cam, 1.8-liter 4-cylinder engine. It produces 138 horses. Now, it's married to the 4-speed automatic transmission. Personally, I'd go with the manual for more punch off the line, but once up to highway speed, the drive and the comfort is impressive. One pet peeve, this Astra is built by General Motors in Belgium. It's a big hit over in Europe, but in Europe the turn indicator is amber, the way it should be. But here in North America, say no more until our next update. Make sure you check out motoringtv.com. Along with catching programs you may have missed on TSN, we have now posted our nominees for top vehicles of 2009. We want you to vote, and we'll have your results and our results on the upcoming 1-hour Car of the Year special. All the details are at motoringtv.com. You know, they're celebrating their 10th anniversary here at Gopher Dunes with this MUDBOG, and everybody thinks they've seen it all every year. But a wedding, that is a first. And you know, I know one guy who would love to be here, not to get married, but to check out these trucks, and that's our man in the Quaker State Garage, Bill Gardner.
Oh yeah, Brad, I can't wait. You know, the grease and grime and grit that I get into is not enough. I need some mud to go along with it. Anyhow, Brad, we've got an email this week from a viewer, Dominic Fong is his name, and he asked the question, please tell me if the power steering fluid ever needs to be replaced and how often on vehicles generally. Well, Dominic, this is something that in most cases you won't find specified in the owner's manual. Most manufacturers don't give you an interval for changing the power steering fluid, but power steering fluid, like all the other lubricants and fluids that protect your vehicle's mechanicals, eventually does need to be changed. Now, obviously not nearly as frequently as engine oil, for example, because engine oil gets contaminated by the combustion event going on in the engine. Power steering fluid, of course, doesn't have that situation, but it gets heated considerably by the power steering pump. On this 1998 Hyundai Elantra, we can see the power steering pump quite visible and the reservoir very visible in the engine bay. Now this pump pressurizes the steering fluid, the power steering fluid, and that gives us the mechanical advantage or the power assist on our steering system. Just the fact that it pressurizes the fluid heats the fluid as well, so that eventually degrades or breaks down the fluid, and also wear and tear on components in the system eventually, you know, add some particles that contaminate the fluid. So there's a good reason to change it periodically. Intervals, well, I think probably 100,000 kilometers would be a good rough yardstick to start at. However, if you've got an application, a vehicle that visibly contaminates its fluid or discolors, darkens, or clouds the fluid prior to that interval, probably a good idea to maybe change it a little bit ahead of that. In any case, if you're replacing all the power steering fluid in your vehicle or having it flushed out or even just topping it up, make sure you get the appropriate fluid for your vehicle. And there's a number of different fluids that are used in various common vehicles. Toyota vehicles, for example, many of them call for Type F transmission fluid, a transmission fluid that was popular in Ford vehicles many, many years ago. GM cars, for example, use a generic power steering fluid, and Honda and Acura use a specific power steering fluid for their vehicles only. So make sure you've got that correct fluid. If you're topping up or replacing, look in the owner's manual. Some cases it's on the lid of the power steering fluid reservoir, or if you don't have any information, go to your dealer and inquire about the correct fluid for your vehicle. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2009.
With high gas prices, the search for alternative fuels continues. And with water the only tailpipe emission, hydrogen has been a big favorite. Recently, BMW introduced its second-generation hydrogen-powered V12 7 Series. It operates on either gasoline or liquid hydrogen with a flick of the switch.
The main development was to convert this engine to work with both hydrogen and gasoline. So we had to develop a tank, a hydrogen tank, and then a hydrogen injection system, and then all the safety development, so we can achieve the same safety standards as with any other BMW. How it works, so the hydrogen comes from the refueling to the tank in liquid form, then we withdraw gas, and then we pretty much burn this hydrogen gas in the combustion chamber like with gasoline, so with a spark plug. And then, it's the same, and then the exhaust is water.
How clean is the water? Well, automotive journalist David Booth could not resist having a drink.
What I did is I collected a bunch of the water vapor right out of the exhaust pipe from a Hydrogen 7 and drank it and took pictures and wrote a story about it. And it tasted like water, really hot water. You know, it's like drinking water right out of the hot tap as opposed to the cold tap, but it was water nonetheless. Everything about alternative fuel is going to be all new. Electric cars are all new, and a hydrogen fuel cell will be all new. This gives us something we can understand. It's still pistons going up and down, crankshafts going around and around, and the only thing that's changed is the fuel delivery mechanism. And I think it offers us a comfort zone with a switch to the hydrogen economy that we previously didn't have.
To remain liquid, the hydrogen must be kept at minus 250 degrees Celsius. In fact, if this super insulated tank contained frozen water, it would take 13 years to melt. The current range on hydrogen is 200 kilometers, and the horsepower is down from 438 on gasoline to 260. Nevertheless, the vehicle drove like a BMW 7 Series, only the paint job gives away the fact that it is powered by what many believe will be the technology of the future. That future could be closer than we think.
It's reached the point in public exposure and awareness that we had hoped it would do. We hope it gets bigger, but survey results and so forth that we've had indicate that the public's aware now of AJAC and its evaluations of vehicles, and it plays a significant role in the buying decision.
Closed captioning on Motoring 2009 is brought to you by the 2009 Chevrolet Traverse Crossover. It's everything you've ever wished for, and then some.
Well, that's a pretty big hit, isn't it? Well, as far as we can tell, this is what happens when you take a 159 kilometer an hour corner at 160 kilometers an hour. This happened in the Targa Newfoundland Rally this past September, and as near as we can figure from the damage, the car went in on the right front corner, flipped in midair, landed on the left rear corner of the roof, and then landed in a bunch of saplings, which kept it from rolling into the river, so that's probably just as well. How do I know all this? Because I was the driver. Now, I don't remember it all because I was knocked out briefly. They did do a brain scan and didn't find anything, so all's good. But people say we were lucky to survive this crash. No, we weren't. We were prepared. It's like my favorite charity, Smart Risk, says, if you're going to indulge in dangerous behavior, take smart risks. Be intelligent about it. Wear the gear, get trained, drive sober. Before we start every day at this rally, both driver and navigator have a breathalyzer test. The last thing we do before we start out on a stage, we tighten those seat belts one more time. Because if you are in a crash, you want to be in the car. You want to become part of that car, because that's the strongest thing you've got going for you. We have the latest crash helmets, we had the head and neck support devices, and we had the best roll cage in the world built right here in Georgetown, Ontario by the Sprongel brothers. That car was demolished, but we walked away. And I put a lot of the credit to a guy named Jackie Stewart. You all know him, 3-time world driving champion. He got tired of seeing his teammates and his fellow competitors die in Formula One crashes. So he spearheaded a campaign to make better and stronger cars. Do you know the last Formula One driver to die? Ayrton Senna, 1994. Do you remember Robert Kubica's crash in Montreal 2 years ago? He walked away from that. It's unbelievable the kind of crashes that we can survive in modern race cars. And a lot of that technology has filtered down into road-going cars too. You've got a seatbelt in your car, you've got a much stronger car than you've ever had before. Are you taking advantage of that? Every time you get in that car, remember seeing the pictures of this little Mini. We walked away from that crash because we were prepared and belted in. Don't you make the mistake that we did not make. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, there's still mudbogging here at Gopher Dunes just outside of Tillsonburg, Ontario, but we've got to go. But before we do, I just want to share a conversation I had recently with an executive from Toyota headquarters in Japan. He was a little disillusioned because he believed that young people today weren't interested in buying a vehicle. They were more interested in the latest computer or iPod. Well, that's what I love about being out here. These men and women, many of them are young, they have a love affair with their trucks, and they're doing to these trucks what they were built to do. Believe me, the engineers would be proud. So maybe if that gentleman from Toyota drops by next year's event, he'll be feeling more positive about the future. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we bring you more stories about cars and trucks, whatever, and the people who drive them.
This vehicle that we're introducing now, the 2009 Maxima, is a really return to the four-door sports car message that we brought out in 1989 with the third generation Maxima. So we believe that this will be the world's best front-wheel drive sedan.
Motoring 2009 on TSN has been brought to you by the new Q Horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.